Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Josh, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm excited. MasterClass number 3,
Yeah.
finally diving into the actual build itself. Obviously, the first show was an overview. Second show, we got to talk to Mark from Old School Model Works, as he's a big part of this build, and we're building one of his actual models. So we're going to actually get started on the minuet. I know some people are jonesing to it's cool to me to see how many people are tuning in and joining in, and this is the first plane they're building. So that's exciting, man. We're getting people into building model airplanes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's absolutely 100% exciting because, there's a lot of people that just sort of get into the hobby, and I think it's great that there are other options that use different mediums, but starting with balsa, man, I tell you, I'm a little biased toward that, but it is a challenge to do this kind of building, and I certainly can appreciate the comments of people wanting us to dig into the build. So here we are. Brian, how many models have you built in your life?
uh let's see, let me count.
Use all your
Zero.
Okay,
Zero.
so you did use all your fingers and toes for that.
I did. Before I forget, thanks everybody tuning in. Paul beat me to the punch. He's tuning in from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Guys, gals, drop in the comments where you're tuning in from. We love to see where everybody's tuning in and watching from. And obviously, we'll be giving some cool Dubro items away this evening as well. So you won't want to miss that. I know Josh has got some questions prepped up for that, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
learned my lesson last week.
I I'm excited because, and I'm saying this publicly, and I know she is watching, but my office roommate has been pushing me to build an airplane, and I've been like, ha, 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 ha. And so I'm excited. She was over here checking it out. That's Mrs. Bychowski, and she's excited. I know Brian and her have been watching all the shows and tuning in, and yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm ready to get my feet wet with your guidance, and hopefully I don't screw this up. And don't worry, this isn't one of the planes we're giving away. Josh is building those, so you guys are safe.
Yeah, I think one of the big advantages here is that we have a situation where you, Brian, you've never built a model before. And so people get to see the kinds of things you can expect to possibly misunderstand or screw up and realize that that's okay.
I love how you're calling out that I'm going to screw up. So
We
that's good.
all screw up. Okay, so
Expectations are low.
I've been building models for a long time now, and I mess up on every single one of them. The difference is I know how to correct them. Oh,
Sure,
whereas some people may not know how to do that. And I think that's part of the build process, just the same as putting the sticks together in the first place.
sure.
And that really just comes with experiment and experience and trial and error and further messing up.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, that's how we learn, right?
Yeah,
And
it is.
so I know we talked about this with Mark, and uh, me being a beginner, right? That's the one thing we did talk about when we kind of planned this is, hey, I'm going to come at this from a beginner level,
Yeah.
not in advance. So, we kind of talked about it with Mark. Like his plans are very well laid out. I noticed. I was pulling the parts out of the laser cut pieces of balsa, and the one thing I noticed and I wanted to ask you is, for the most part it comes out pretty clean,
Mhm.
but sometimes you get a little tab here. Should you be sanding those? Should you be using an X-Acto knife? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So that's a great question. I'll start off by saying that I'll go back to what Mark had said, that if you have a really well cut kit, then the laser will have cut through just the right amount, nothing more, nothing less. And so the parts should technically just fall out of the sheet. Now
Which they
that's
pretty much did for the most
yeah,
part.
they pretty much do. I mean, these are excellently cut kits. Uh,
Mhm.
but there are times when you get a little bit nervous and you can like use a number 11 blade and just nick those tabs to help things along, but you don't have to necessarily saw at it and cut at the little tabs that hold it onto the sheet. I generally try to just poke and pry gently with my fingers and press it out. Um, but I mean, other than that, if you're approaching another kit that isn't cut as well, then yes, may have to do some trimming and cutting.
Mhm.
Hopefully not.
Okay. No, and like you said, pretty much all these pieces pretty much fell out with little
Yeah,
to no pressure. Some of them were like falling out on the floor. I'm like holding the pieces
yeah,
up. I'm looking at the plans, looking at the numbers on there, and then I'm like, oh, probably need that piece. Should pick
yeah.
that
And
up.
the little tabs that are excuse me, I got something in my throat tonight. The little tabs that are left on from holding it onto the sheet, most of the time, I don't even bother with those.
Mhm.
I just wait until you do final shaping of the part because you're going to have to sand it anyway. And why waste time, frankly?
Sure. Sure. No, I dig it. It was just something I thought about as I was laying everything out, getting everything
Yeah,
ready for tonight, and I was like, I'm gonna ask Josh because I figured it'd be a good question. It'd be something that, somebody that may not have ever built a plane like myself,
yeah.
would have a question on. So I just wanted to bring that up, but, um I laid out my plans per your
Good,
direction,
good,
and I wanted to go at this from beginner level. So I got 3 pieces of cardboard. Actually, they're 3 cardboard boxes just kinda sandwiched together, T-pinned my plans flat, and then
good.
just started laying out pieces per marking on the, plans here, and I got my instructions in front of me, and I'm ready to go.
Okay, okay. That's great. Now, what I want to point out is that so yeah, you're using many layers of cardboard, and we had talked offline about this. And just to inform everybody else, if you're going to go with this because you don't have access to like the ceiling tile that we've talked about before, or you don't have a magnetic work surface and all the magnets associated with that, if you're going to go with this method, try to get the absolute straightest cardboard you can possibly find. Hopefully it's not used. I mean, it's just a couple of dollars to go to a home improvement store and get moving boxes if you want
Sure.
just absolutely straight cardboard. It will help prevent wings from being built warped. And so the only reason that I bring that up is so that you're preventing yourself from unexpected catastrophe, right?
Mhm.
If you build the wing crooked or warped on your a warped build surface, when you go to fly the model for the first time, you don't necessarily know how it's going to fly. The second you take off, it may roll a little bit more violently than you expect it to. Um, so yeah, it's one of those ounce of prevention kind of situations. So yeah, the great question, David. What about some wax paper? Brian, have you laid out some wax paper on your plans?
I have not.
Oh, did you bring wax paper?
I did not.
Oh,
I
okay.
already
Well,
pulled the cardinal sin, so we're good.
that's all right. That's all right. But the advantage is that you can build one wing and then you build the other wing over a separate part of the plans.
Yep,
Okay.
that's what I
So
figured.
uh, as you go to glue, try to use the glue sparingly. Help.
I get it.
It will help eliminate those holes that are going to be in your plans from ripping the balsa off of the paper. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So you're ready to glue your fingers together?
Yeah, I mean, where are we gonna start? So, for some of those folks that are, following at home, again, Mark has some very welled out
He
instructions.
does. He does.
Um,
Absolutely.
Step 1, we're starting on the wingtip.
Yep.
You know, I'm just gonna read his instructions as we go along.
Well, if
Locate
you like,
1.
I can read and then
Okay.
you can
Yeah.
construct.
Okay. You
All
got
right.
it.
So step one, locate one WS3 from BP5. For those
Got it.
unfamiliar, BP5 is like a sheet of cut balsa. Okay, so locate part WS3 from BP5, one one WS4 from BP8, and one WS5 and WS6 from BP7.
Got it.
So it's a whole bunch of pieces. You're building out this curve on the tip of the wing. These are glued together one at a time to form the wing tip. Start by pinning WS4 in place.
Got
So
it.
that's your first job, Brian. Take WS4, lay it over the plans, and put a couple T-pins in it. Now, I like to put my T-pins in at opposing angles. So I'll do like one at the top of the part in one angle and then one at the bottom of the part in a separate angle rather than straight up and down. I see a comment from Andrew. Parchment paper has been good to you. Yeah, I've used parchment paper too. It's a little bit thicker. And so sometimes I have to like lay it out beforehand so that it lays more flat. Because sometimes if I'm building a really light part, like a tailplane or something, it can push it up. But yeah, T-pins help with that too.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're going to go glue WS5 to WS4 and pin it in place. Okay, so I would add just a little bit of glue to that edge on WS5 and then glue it to WS4 and pin it in place. You did it
Got
wrong.
it. Don't laugh at me,
Yay!
Josh.
It's your first glue joint. It's a monumental occasion. All right.
First of many to come, right?
Yes. It's just like Legos, just the Legos are different shape. So then you're going to do the same for WS6 and then WS3.
So, two, we're just using Zap Medium CA for these glue joints.
And it's a good in between. I like to use medium CA on these parts because it gives me a little bit more time. The time is important for like positioning parts. Sometimes you can go to put it in place and it's not exactly quite right. Your aim is a little bit off. Whether you're tired or you get balsa dust in your eye, something. It's just nice to be able to reposition and not have that instant set that thin CA can give you. And especially because you don't have any wax paper, if you use thin CA, it would soak right through onto the plants.
Awesome. I'm glad we're using medium.
Yeah. All right. So which part are you pinning now?
That's WS6.
That's WS6. Very good. And so you're now on to WS3, and that's your last part for this step.
I'm glad I'm not paying for T-pins. Sorry, boss.
You know, and I use T-pins for occasionally I will forget to cap my glue bottle and the tip will get all crusted over. I'll use a T-pin to poke that out.
That's the perfect tool right there.
Yeah. Another little tip that I'll give you, Brian, that as you glue, every once in a while, go ahead and wipe the tip of your glue bottle clean. It'll help keep your nozzle clean as you go through the build.
Got it. Cool.
All right, so you good?
Yep, we're good.
All right, step one, if you have a pen nearby, you can check off the box if you've got your...
I had a pen here.
Yeah, if you've got your
I'll check it
instructions,
later.
you can check that box. All right, so step two, locate one of the 1/8 by 1/4 inch basswood sticks.
I have that located. Hold on. Let me grab it.
Yeah. So the difference between basswood and balsa wood is different species of tree, obviously, but basswood is much harder. It's a much denser fiber, and it doesn't bend nearly as much. This is a piece of basswood from the kit, and you can see that as I try to put force on it, it doesn't want to bend, but balsa, so this is a piece of the balsa sheet, as I try to put just a little bit of pressure, it will just instantly bend like that. So that's how you can easily know the difference between the two. So the piece that, Brian, you're going to do now, this is the lower wing spar that it outlines on the plan. So you got that stick. It will be used as the lower spar. Measure and cut it to length. So you're going to make sure it extends from the inside of the wing tip you just created to beyond the root R3 rib by roughly 1/4 inch or so. Using a few drops of medium CA glue, tack this spar to the wax paper as shown and the wing tip. Make sure that it is straight along its entire length. You can use T-pins in a crisscross manner as shown in the photo. So while you're doing that, you're just going to glue that spar to the wing shape that you've made, the tip of the wing that you made, and then for those who are watching at home for the first time, when you put T-pins in, he's going to put them in at an angle over top. So imagine that this piece of wood is down on a table. We're going to put one T-pin in like this, another T-pin in like that, and it's going to hold the piece of wood in place. Now, these aren't going to be perfectly straight. They're going to wave a little bit here and there, but that's what the T-pins are for. You can pin them if it's not lining up exactly on the plans. You can pin them in place so that they do. So when you put other parts like the ribs in place, the spar will be there. And then as you build, you can remove T-pins if they are in the way, because as you build, you'll give structure to the little pieces that are there. How's your spar looking, Brian?
Looking good, man.
Nice.
Just T-pinning this in place. I got to cut to length with my razor knife. We talked about that on the last show.
Razor saw.
Razor saw, yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you, Dubro, for having that in the drawer for me. Yeah, these pins hold this piece real nice as long as you get them nice and tight, crossed, going along.
Yeah. And even if you get some glue on them, you can take the edge of your razor blade when you're done and you're ready to throw the razor blade away, and you can scratch off any of the dried up glue.
Nice.
Yeah, the coating on the steel that you guys use, nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
All right, ready to go step 3?
Sutter family said, checking the box to indicate the step being complete is not only good from an order of addition standpoint, but also the psychology of accomplishment.
Very,
I love it.
Very true. Very, very true.
Love it. All right.
I love that too. All right. So now you're going to start forming the leading edge of the wing. That's the front part.
Yep.
The part that sees the air first. Okay, so 2 WS1s from BP10.
Got them.
These are used to form the lower leading edge sheeting. Note they have straight and tapered ends. You're going to glue one of the straight edge ends to the wing tip WS4, and then you're going to pin that in position. Now you make sure that this WS1 is straight and true with the plans as you do that. Again, we're trying to square things up here, so being careful to make sure it's straight is pretty important.
What if I want my plane to fly a little funny?
You can program that in the radio, I promise. I've known pilots that do that with the jitters in their thumbs when they go to fly for the first time.
That'll be me. That'll be me. Okay.
All right, so now you're going to take the other WS1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, now you're going to glue it to the first WS1 that's already in place on the board. So this time you're going to glue the tapered ends together. And when you do this, that's called a scarf joint. And Mark does an excellent job at pointing this out in these instructions so that you know what a scarf joint is in the future. So a scarf joint is where you have these two triangles that come together and make one larger continuous piece of balsa. And it's a stronger joint for this kind of extension rather than just doing a butt joint where the two ends are butt together. So again, you're going to pin this in place, make sure it's straight and true with the plans.
We are good, my friend.
All right, so we are done the two-dimensional construction. We're going to start on three-dimensional construction now. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
It's going to be awesome. All right. Step 4, locate one R9 from BP3 and one SW5 from BP8. Note that WS5 or SW5 is tapered and has a circle etched in it. This circle indicates the top and outer edges of SW5. It's a little square piece that has a taper to it. It looks like a trapezoid. You got it? Yeah,
Right
that
there.
one. So there's a little teeny tiny circle that is laser etched on it, and that's going to
Correct.
be the top, and then the outer part. It's going to face the wing tip away from the airplane, right?
Just like that.
That's right. All right, so now you're going to glue SW5 into the pre-cut slot in R9
So I
as
just want to
shown.
point out we got to knock these center pieces out.
Yes, if
Correct.
it didn't come out already, yes, that does need to come
Okay.
out before you go.
I knew that. I just left them in there intentionally.
Right.
See that? Watching out for you guys.
Ah, you're a good guy. Yeah, Gary,
Oh, yeah.
great comment here, Gary. Scarf joint is strong both because it's got more surface area, but also it's not the end grain of the wood, which is very poor for gluing. Very, very true. Appreciate that.
So we want to glue these two together like so.
Yep. Whoop.
Dropping
Yep.
it. Cool. I'm just trying to show everybody. I know it might be a little difficult to see 100%.
You know, I'm gonna be completely transparent. There was one moment when I was gluing stuff together on the wings, and I did actually glue my fingers together by accident, and I had to cut them apart. I
I'm
didn't
not
have.
gonna lie. I think I already kind of did that a little bit. So we're good.
That's the fun and joy of building. It really is. All right, so you're all glued together. You got a
We're
90
good to
degree
go.
on that.
Yep.
All right. So as you'll do this with the following steps, make sure that each tab in an SW piece is fully inserted into each rib's slot as the glue cures. Any gaps will add up over the length of the wing and make it so the rib alignment with the plans keeps getting worse and worse. Okay?
All right. One more time. Say that one more time.
So each of the SW pieces, you're going to be a whole bunch of them. So SW, I'm assuming because I know the language and Mark is an experienced builder, SW stands for shear web. And I'll get into that later, what a shear web is.
Okay.
But SW piece is fully inserted to the ribs slot.
Got it.
So you don't want it hanging out at all. You want that to be a very tight joint because you're going to have multiple ribs with the SW attached to it over the length of the wing.
Yep.
If you've got extra space in there,
We
that
got
error is going
problems.
to add up over time by the
Time.
time you get to the edge of the wing. Okay.
Got it.
All right. So step 5. Now you're going to glue R9 assembly in place. So you're going to put it in place, make sure that it is properly aligned with the plans and that it's completely flat on the plans as the glue cures. Also glue the bottom edge of SW5 to the lower spar. The way that I did this was I put glue on the contact points except for the spar. The reason is I want to put a little extra glue where it meets the spar, where
Okay.
the rib meets the spar.
So would you glue it from the backside there?
Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, you just take the tip and you just touch it to the corner. Because the basswood isn't nearly as porous, it's a much tighter fiber. It doesn't absorb as quickly as the balsa does. And so any of those joints, I like to apply the glue so that it soaks into the wood rather than just touches the surface. Is your wing 3-dimensional?
You know it. We
All
are there.
right. Nice. Very nice.
Just let that set up. I feel like a model plane builder.
You are a model airplane builder. Bravo, my friend. Bravo.
Hey, I think we should give something away on that point.
Hey, I'm okay with that. You want to give away some T-pins?
Let's do it. I got all 3 sizes.
Nice. Nice, because you'll use all 3 sizes. It's great.
And I'm noticing that already.
Yeah?
So what's the question we got for them?
Okay, so a question that I thought that we should potentially revisit is see how many people were paying attention to the first live stream that we had and see how many people know the history of Dubro. So the question is, first person to answer in the comments, what is the first and last name of the founder of Dubro?
Oh, that's easy.
Well, it's easy for
Can I
us. I
answer?
mean, no, you can't answer.
Hopefully that's a little better view. As I saw somebody suggested a top view angle.
Yeah.
And I thought about that earlier.
There, Chip.
Chip Dewey Broberg.
That's
I
it.
love it. I love it.
That's it.
So Chip, send us an email at orders@dubro.com with your shipping address. In the subject line, put T-pins and we'll get those out for you tomorrow morning. Love it. Love it.
Congratulations, Chip.
Here,
Nice.
I'll follow that up with a set of nylon hinges. What was the first thing Dewey invented for the RC model airplane?
Ooh, that's a way better question. I don't know the answer to that one.
Really?
No, I don't.
Josh, come on.
I need to hang out with you more. What can I say?
It's all right. It's all right. We'll see if anybody gets that. So we got some 3-dimensional going.
Okay. You ready to go to the next step?
Let's do it.
All right. We are now on step 6. Locate one WS7 from BP7 and one WS8 from BP8. You're going to remove the pins from the pieces that make up the wingtip, as these 2 parts will be glued on top of the tip pieces already in place. So you're going to strengthen them by adding thickness, okay?
Got it.
So first glue WS7 over the outer portion of the wingtip so that the ends butt up against the R9 rib. Make sense?
Yep. Nobody's got the question yet. The RC barn says hinges, and that is incorrect.
Try again, RC Barn.
All right, so we're gluing WS7 right over the top of what we already
Correct.
did.
Correct. And
And
what I usually do, what I did for this part, Brian, I just did a squiggle.
zigzag of glue.
Yeah, zigzag squiggle. Because again, it's medium CA. As you put the part down on top, it's going to ooze out. And because it's balsa, it's going to seep in. So most of this stuff is just going to absorb straight into the fibers. Let's see, we've got Quick Clip from Kelly Nye Hoffman and One Piece Wheel Tire from Suter Family. And another Jason also
Okay,
says the Quick Clip.
Kelly works here, so she's ineligible.
Oh,
Jason, you are correct with the quick clip.
the
Send us
Quick
an
Clip.
email at orders@dubro.com and we'll get you a set of hinges sent out, buddy.
All
Kelly,
right.
you cheater.
Gary, is WS7 cross grain to the bottom one? What do you mean by the bottom one, Gary?
WS7.
Oh, you mean,
No, the bottom piece. No, it's
I don't think it is. I
no,
think it just simply overlaps the butt joints that create the bottom layer.
that is correct. Yeah, the joint is just past the rib
Yeah,
where that V cut is in there. So
yeah.
uh, it goes over the top of that first initial joint, but butts up against the rib, and then
Yes.
our next piece.
So then your next piece is WS8.
Are we pinning this back down, Josh?
Yes, I would.
Okay. I thought that was the right
Yes.
thing to do, but I just wanted to make sure.
So then glue WS8 on the rear of the wing tip between the R9 rib and the R8 rib. And again, R8 is not there. But it will be. Next step. Next step, Brian.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
It's
I'm
okay.
going.
It's okay.
I feel the pressure.
Yes, Suitor family, this is a flat bottom wing. Let me get, it's handy here. I have one of the R6 ribs I can hold up to the camera. So here are a couple of spare R6 ribs. Because I built my both of the airplanes are going to come with ailerons. These R6s aren't used. You use R7s instead that have the back cut chopped off. But you can see very clearly flat bottom and then flat bottom. How's it coming, Brian?
I'm good, man. I got WS8 glued down, pinned down, and ready to go.
Very good. All right. So now you're going to locate R8, one R8 from BP3. And you're going to glue it in place, making sure that the tab is probably going to have a little square you're going to have to push out again for the tab. Making sure that the tab from SW5 is fully inserted and that the rib is perfectly flat on the plans. And again, that's important because if it's not flat on the plans, you can start to get twist in the wing. And that makes the wing do roll things that you don't want it to. All right, so shear webs, as you're doing this, we're gonna do much more of these. We're coming up to a point where you'll see a bigger pattern of this. So the next step, as you come up on it, Brian, you're going to get, you're going to use this same technique that you've already used with the shear webs, the SWs. So you're going to get an R6 rib from BP1 or BP2 and 2 SW4s from BP6. So the SW4s are tapered just like the previous SW, and they also have circles etched onto them. So this circle is the same. It indicates the top and outer. So circle goes to the top and pointing toward the wingtip. So you're going to dry fit all of this together first, and when you're okay with it, you're going to glue it in place, making sure that everything's aligned, everything's flat on the build surface, and against the plans. Yeah. So in this case, we're using 2 SWs instead of 1. There's an SW on the front part of the spar and another one on the back part of the spar. So what this does is it creates 2 different grains, right? So you've got the long grain of the basswood that's in the spar, but you also have this bending moment of the basswood, right? So what we're trying to do is counter that. We're adding additional strength, but we don't need a whole lot because the basswood in itself is really strong already. So we're just trying to prevent the bending, not necessarily give like a lot of I don't have a good word for it. But we're gonna add the balsa that has a grain that's perpendicular to this. And as you glue that in place to the bottom spar and then eventually install a top spar and it's glued to that as well, that is what prevents the whole spar together from bending too much. And it will break, obviously, if you pull out of a dive too hard, but that is the point of a shear web. You glue it to, it sandwiches the spars to help prevent it from bending, and it gives you that cross grain action to do that. And it does it very efficiently for the weight. All right, so that's one of those construction methods that Mark uses and does it very, very well here. All right, how's your step 8 coming, Brian?
I dry fitted everything, and
Good.
I'm gonna get everything look good. So I'm gonna glue these pieces on like we did the beginning one.
Nice. One of the things that's nice with the Zap glues is that it comes with a nice long nozzle.
That's
So that when
huge. I'll
you
say
can
that right off the bat.
get it into those tight nooks and crannies as you build some of this stuff. You're doing great, Brian.
So we got those 2 pieces glued in.
Yep, just like that.
Boom. And then we're gonna glue that to the R8.
Correct.
Boom.
Yep.
It's like I've done this before.
I'll read this again. Glue them in place, making sure they're aligned and all tabs are properly seated. The bottom edges of SW4s should be glued to the sides of the lower spar. The way that I did this was I installed it dry and then ran a bead of glue using the nozzle.
On the backside, yeah.
Yeah, just on the inside, in between the 2 ribs, or in between the 2 shear webs. Soder family asked a question, is washout added during covering or designed into the build? It depends on the build. Some people add washout as a precaution, especially if it's an unknown model, something that's never been built or there's not a whole lot of documentation on it. It's not a bad practice, but you can also program in a little bit of washout, like you can adjust it on your ailerons too. And if it's not needed, then you can reduce that amount of drag after you fly the model. It's kind of builder's choice, I suppose. But the washout, if it's required, then usually the designer will have it built into the model, and that can be usually done with little tabs that can extend downward from the ribs, and so that extension will vary as you line up the ribs and build out the wing.
Nice. Whew.
Gary asks, well, he makes a comment here. He's a little surprised that we glue SW to the rib first. He would have assumed that you put the ribs in and then lay SW against the spars. Seems like it would be straighter that way. Gary, you might be right, but Brian, why don't you hold up one of the shear webs to the camera? Because I think it will answer Gary's question a lot better than me running my mouth. There you go. Can you hold it any closer? Oh, yeah, perfect. Perfect. See those tabs, Gary, on the left and the right? That's what you're fitting into each rib. So if you glue the rib in first, you're running the risk of breaking the shear web as you kind of bend it to like scooch it into place. So you glue it to the rib before you install it dry and then glue it in place. Make sense?
Yeah.
It
definitely
made
helps
sense to
that
me.
way too, I think. Just getting it square, right,
Yeah.
to that actual rib.
And I mean, if you're really concerned about getting a glue joint right, you can always come back once the wing is built and run some thin CA from the bottom, and that will soak into the wood. That's an option too.
Suter family said shear webs have laser cut lightning holes.
That is correct. You want to reduce the mass as much as possible. Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. All right, Brian, you ready for the next step? This one's easy.
Okay.
All right, so
I like easy.
locate one WS9 from BP8 and glue this in place between the over the rear of the wingtip between the R8 and R6 ribs.
Got it.
So you're making another doubler on that outer rim of the wingtip, making it stronger.
Okay. I've encountered a problem, my friend.
What's that?
It's a
It
little
doesn't fit?
long. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right, so this is where your hand sander comes in handy, literally. Do you have one?
I don't have one offhand, but
Do you have sandpaper handy?
it's about, it's a little long. I should have sandpaper handy. See? You guys get to learn from my mistakes.
See, that's why we're doing this. See, I'm standing here and I'm like, yeah, you gotta have your quicksand hand sander on hand.
Yeah, I epically failed you guys. Hold on, I got one on my desk.
Oh, don't get your wife's nail file. Don't do that. Your wife will kill you. I used to steal my mom's nail files when I was a kid to like sand my train tracks because I would have continuity issues because the train tracks were old and the electricity wouldn't go through. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't steal the nail file. So yeah, the situation that Brian is encountering right now is where he's glued something in place over top of the plans. It doesn't align perfectly, and so the part he's trying to insert in between two ribs is a little bit too long. So really the only way to correct that is to take a little bit off. So once he gets something to sand with, we can sand one side or the other. It's kind of his choice, but the way that I approach this is to look at where I made the mistake over top of the plans and sand away the mistake. if that makes sense. So like if I look at one rib that's slightly off and the other one's also slightly off, it kind of doesn't really matter, but I will try to take a little bit off from each side. Again, you're going to be sanding this trailing edge, so it kind of doesn't really entirely matter, but I'm pretty meticulous when I build. Brian, you went overkill, my friend. You got the biggest
Uh,
one in the batch, didn't you?
the all new 22-inch quicksand by Dubro.
Look at you. Look at you sanding all the things tonight. All right, so yeah, what I was saying to everybody while you were gone, Brian, is you're going to want to sand away your mistake. So look at the part, lay it over top of the plans, and see where you may have been a little slightly off in placement of your ribs, and just sand a little bit away. And if it takes you 3-4 times of sanding, so be it. It's always great to take some off. It's a lot harder to put it back
Put it
on.
back on. Yep. Trust me,
It
been
can
there.
it can be done. It's not pleasant, but it can be done.
Measure 3 times, cut once.
Yeah. Now, in a pinch, I will say that if you don't have quicksand hand sanders, I will show you one of my cheat sheets that I keep in my stash of sanding stuff. Is I go to the hardware store and I get paint sticks. And then I just take a piece of sanding paper and I spray it with some spray glue and then just wrap it over top. And so I have both sides. And when it's done, I just throw it away because it's so cheap. You can potentially pull it off, but it's going to be uneven and wavy. So I just don't. I don't even bother. I just pitch it in the garbage can. But that's why the hand sanders are so nice, because like if you get some of the glue residue on there, you can spray some WD-40, take any of the residue off. I know people that have 3 of each size of hand sander, and that way they have different grits available, and that each sander just has that grit all the time.
Yeah, we have quite a few customers that they'll order in threes when it
Yeah,
comes to those, and they'll just take a black permanent marker and mark the grid on the outside so they can just
yep,
grab and go.
yep. I mean, if that's what you want to do, great. To me, I try to be pretty minimalistic with the tools in my shop, just because I have limited storage space in my shop. So being able to just make do with less is kind of my jam, and I enjoy it. Also helps me keep maintenance on stuff too. If I see a problem with something, I'll clean it or fix it or whatever. All right, so that's glued in place now, your doubler.
We're good.
Nice. Coming up on 10 minutes to 9, I think it's time for us to give away something, don't you think?
Yes, sir. We got a pull system to go along with the build.
Yeah. All
What's the
right,
question
so
going to be? Because we gave away the pins and the hinges.
this is a piece of trivia about me. And for
Oh,
those who follow my YouTube channel, they will know the answer to this. So this is a pretty difficult question if there's nobody who's regularly watched me or knows me. I know there are a couple of people watching that do know me, so that's okay. But what is my favorite airplane? One of the hints that I will give is that I have never built it.
I don't even know
Well,
this.
I shouldn't say never. I haven't built it to the scale that I want to build it. Oh, Dynamic RC, got it right off the hit.
Helldiver?
The Helldiver, the SB2C Helldiver, made by Curtis.
Love it. Love
It's
it.
my absolute favorite airplane.
Dynamic RC, send us an email, orders@dubro.com, and in the subject line, just put pull system and let me know if you want 256 or 440. So, congrats.
Nice. Now, I do have 256 ready to go for this particular model. I think it will work really, really well. Be nice scale feature for all of the control surfaces on it. It'll look great for this era. All right.
Love it.
Well, we are
At a
at the
stopping
very
point, right?
last step that I had
Okay.
wanted us to get to tonight,
Okay.
Brian. Do
All
you want
right.
to do it, or
Let's do it.
are you done?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, okay. So you're gonna get uh, another R6 from BP1 or BP2, and two SW3s. There's a whole bunch of these
Oh yeah, I got a
SW3s.
bunch of those.
Then that's found on BP5 or 6. You're going to dry fit first, and when you're satisfied with how they fit, glue them in place, making sure they're aligned and the tabs are properly seated on the rib. Make sure it's put flat against that rib and then also against the plans, and then glue it. Seen this before, haven't you?
Yeah, once or twice.
Yeah,
Well, and I did want to note that our first ones had the dot in the corner. This does
right.
not because our wing has flattened out, correct?
That is correct. There's no more taper in the wing, so it's just a rectangle now. Doesn't matter if it's upside down or inside out. I was a little meticulous on mine and made sure that the laser etching always faced out because I'm me.
Because I'm me. Look at
It
you.
really doesn't matter. It just it's a little more photogenic. That's really all. But yeah, it's fitted literally exactly the same way. Um, so you take the two shear webs and tab them in place with a little bit of glue, fit the assembly over top of the plans, and glue it in place. Easy peasy. And the reason I wanted to get to this place, keep building, Brian, as I talk. The
Yeah,
reason I
you're good.
wanted to get to this place in the build is that essentially you've built the whole wing by now. You just have to do each one of this section many more times. It's really that simple. You have the shear webs that glue into a rib that glues to the assembly that's on the table already, and you just do that over and over until the wing is built. There are things to note along the way. The next step after this will be to decide whether or not you're going to be using ailerons. This can be built as a 3-channel ship. Uh, Not sure how you're going to take this, Brian. I'm going to leave that up to you. But whether you choose the R7 or R6 to incorporate an aileron or not, that's up to you. But you build it over the plans the same as any other part.
I'm gonna be difficult. I want to go full on all in, so I'm going with the R7s.
Okay, 4-channel it is. Very good. So that'll be your next step, is to go proceed forward with the R7s, and then you'll come back to other stuff and you just build it out. Now, as you get to the root of the rib later on, you'll get to different pieces that are made out of plywood. And that's just a slightly stronger material, but we don't need that strength here at the tip of the wing. We're using the strength of the spars and the shear webs, right? So yeah, that's the target that we had for tonight's live stream, Brian.
I love it.
I have to commend you that you went through this like exactly how I envisioned it. Like I knew that you could get all of this done tonight. It's just awesome.
Well, I will not lie. I am struggling a little bit with this last piece, but
Struggle is good. Struggle helps you learn.
we are good.
Gary Bisaga, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. I apologize. Comment, all in would be wing warping. Now that's just, I agree with you, but
Come on, Gary.
oh, Bradley, it will not be done in 2025, I assure you. So surprisingly enough, when I sat down to first build these, never built anything from old school model works before, followed the plans, and I was able to knock out each one of these wing panels, just the top part of it before you get to the adding the top spar and fitting things, get it done in 45 minutes. So laying out all of these parts and all the ribs and shear webs, I was able to get all of this done in 45 minutes. It's just clockwork.
Is that
You
view
get,
good, Josh?
that's great. That's a great view. You did a
Excellent.
really good job. Nice and straight, right over the plans. Nothing's too overly crooked. I mean, being off a little bit is expected, honestly. But yeah, it looks great. Good job.
I feel accomplished, Josh.
Do you?
Yeah,
That's great.
that wasn't as bad as I thought.
It's really not. It's really not. Like I said, it's just Legos. The Legos are shaped a little bit differently.
Sure.
So
Yeah. No,
anyway,
good stuff, man. I look forward to it. To the next one. I know we are back. What is that date? I had it up here earlier.
you had it in your notes.
Yeah. 18th. 18th is the next master class. What is our plans for the next one?
Well, depending on how far you get with your build, Brian, I would like to show the next segment. You build this wing and then you build the
Mhm.
other wing,
Yep.
and then you build a center section and you can choose to epoxy that together. I did not. I will not be
Okay.
epoxying it together. I'm making essentially a three-piece wing, plug-in
Yep.
wings, mostly because for this giveaway, we need to ship it to somebody, and that's going to make it a
Exactly.
lot easier to do that, but also it's a little bit easier for transportation. This is a pretty big wingspan airplane. I
Yeah.
don't know many cars that would fit this in their back seat, like a cross between doors. So
Sure.
there's that too. Something to keep in mind. But the instructions do tell you to epoxy together. But in talking with Mark, he seems to think that the epoxy isn't a strength thing.
Mhm.
The airplane is already designed to be strong without that, so it should be fine. What I would like to do on the next one is this. And let me switch my camera here and show you.
So
Um,
Gary's got a question. He says, "Is it medium CA everywhere here, or thin, like to attach the ribs to the trailing edge?"
So again, I would recommend using medium CA all around here just because you want the working time. You want to make sure that everything is lined up nicely on the plans to build a nice straight wing. If you were to go ahead and build with thin CA, you really only have just a few seconds to reposition something, and you can, in your haste, you can overcorrect, and I try to avoid that. Avoid the mistakes as much as possible. I know some people like to use thin CA because it can technically build faster, but I prefer to build something straighter rather than faster, if that makes sense.
Yep. So Bradley Allen says, "I'm late to the party. Did you cover the plans with wax paper or anything to keep from gluing the wing to the plans?"
I did. Brian did not.
I did not, but we covered
We
that.
still like you,
Yeah,
Brian. We
you
still
should.
like you,
Yeah.
Brian.
Hey, again, coming at this from the rookie angle. Okay. I want everybody to learn from my mistakes. So I'm going to
Yeah,
continue to make those so you
that's good.
guys don't do the same thing.
That's good. So yeah, this is what I would like us to cover next time. So this is the horizontal stabilizer and elevator. It assembles really, really fast, but it's a different construction method than the wing. So we've already seen how the wing is constructed and how it's pieced together, but this is like a sandwich. This is three layers of balsa wood. And being able to show how that all fits together, I think would be really instructive and informative, and show how Mark works with his old school style.
Love it. Love it. Well, because I have a pickup truck and I can handle the bigger wings, and you're doing the separated wings again, we'll try to accommodate all things. So
Sure.
I'll have my wing sections together, and then we can show epoxy in those, and then build in what you just showed everybody.
Yeah.
So
So
that'll be
this
perfect.
is what I'm talking about, like
Yeah,
the wing center section, and
yeah,
it slides right off.
love it.
Really easy.
That'll be perfect. Perfect. Anything else, Josh, before we close it out tonight?
Again, congratulations on your first balsa sticks glued together. I know it seems like a really silly thing, but it is more than a lot of other modelers have done
Yeah,
in this hobby. So I really, truly, genuinely commend you on that. It's a lot of fun.
it's cool, man. I'm excited. I'm gonna work on getting the rest of these together between now and the 18th. Did I say?
Yeah.
Yep. And then continuing to move on. This is great.
Nice. Very
I
good.
hope this helped everybody. I know some of you guys have built planes before. We've had quite a few people ask, showing the actual build process. So we're going to continue to do this. And as we continue along, I know Josh has got some tricks up his sleeve that he's excited to share with everybody. Some things that he's incorporating into his builds. So, but yeah, I'm excited, man. This is great.
Yeah.
So, everybody, we appreciate you tuning in tonight. We will see you on the 18th, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, 5 o'clock out on the West Coast. Uh, thank you, everybody, for your continued support of these master classes. They're only going to get better, and we're going to keep chugging along. Um, Feel free to visit dubro.com. There's a tab right at the top of the page that says master class. All these videos get posted there. So if you show up late to the party, you didn't get a chance to watch live, you can always go back there, watch. We got a list of all the build materials, kit, everything linked in there. So that way, if you guys want to build one of these planes with us, you're more than welcome. And everything is there, and laid out for you guys, so you can get all your parts and kits and everything ordered in and ready to go and build along.
Hey, Brian,
Yes, sir.
clean and cap your CA bottle.
I did.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. It's not my first rodeo with
All right.
with that.
I'm
Yeah,
just being a
no.
friend.
I appreciate that. No. Obviously we have an archery company too, and I accidentally left one of my glue bottles uncapped the other day, and it's a similar glue, and yeah, that didn't turn out too good.
I'm assuming
That's right. It was an expired bottle of glue. We couldn't sell it anyway, so.
very good.
Josh, share your YouTube channel with everybody so that way they can follow along with
Yeah,
you
just
if they're not already doing it.
I appreciate that. My YouTube channel is Joshua Orchard. Just Joshua Orchard. If you search me, I'll come up, and I build lots of stuff. I'm never afraid to fail. In fact, I frequently do, but I share that and I show what works for me. And I always encourage you to do what works for you.
Love it. Love it. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one, 18th. As always, happy flying.